Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. Are you a business owner that has employees in some leadership role and you're struggling or you're not quite sure how to motivate your employees or get them to do what you'd really like them to do on their own? Well, today is an episode for you because we have Allie Stewart in the house. And we are going to talk about leadership. So she is a coach, a speaker, a best-selling author, and she loves to help transform people into becoming better leaders. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'd like to invite Allie to introduce yourself even more.
Thank you so much, Charisse, and it's lovely to be here with you. Thank you so much. Yes, I am Allie Stewart. I set up Allie Stewart & Co. in 2004. So we celebrated 20 years in business last year with a lovely event in London. It was brilliant.
Well, congratulations. That is an amazing accomplishment.
Thank you very much.
What type of business leaders do you specifically help?
Really, it's any leader who is responsible for line managing another individual. So I wrote an article a long time ago before social media on the leadership skill of explicitness, because leaders aren't often very explicit. They say to people, use your initiative. What does that mean?
Yep.
Tell me what I look like, what I'm doing if I'm using my initiative. But this article was picked up by the HR director of the then HR director of Sunswept Resorts in St. Lucia. And she invited me over to go and train her senior leadership team. And then from that, the chief exec of the rum distillery down the road in St. Lucia said, can you come and train my senior leaders? So it doesn't matter what kind of industry, where they are, what they are. We've worked with charities and schools and businesses and underwriters in Threadneedle Street here in London. It doesn't matter who they are. If you are responsible for managing other people, you need to know about some of the stuff we do because we're never taught it at school.
That is so true. And I'm one of those that I've always had to figure it out, and it just becomes very natural. I just go and I figure it out and it's all good. But when I hired some of my employees and even my family members, I expected the same thing. Like, I figured it out, you can too. This is what I need you to do. And they're like, huh?
Yes,
So
exactly.
then I'm like, what's your problem? Right. And they're like, well, what's your problem? And so that was a very interesting dynamic, because when I was running colleges, I had job descriptions, I had all this stuff, and it was easy to train them and do things. But when you're a startup business and you are creating everything as you go, it's very fluid. And so this is a very necessary topic. I had a friend that went from zero to multi-millions very quickly. And a lot of her first employees, they left. And so she started going to all these leadership conferences and learning how to be a better leader so that she could retain her employees. What are the biggest mistakes that managers make when trying to lead a team?
Quite often, leaders will assume that people are as motivated to do the thing as they are. And they have the same desires and wants that they do. And why can't they work in the same way as you do? And things like that. So they just expect people to do what they do. And people rarely do, because they have their own minds, their own ways of going about things.
Exactly. And that's what happened to me. So what is your liberating leadership framework?
So before I set up my own company, I set up a management consultancy with a chartered occupational psychologist who is still my guide and mentor. He is in his late 80s now.
Oh, wow.
But we had amazing clients like Gillette and Vodafone and the Foreign and Commonwealth Office here in the UK. So a lot of global companies, a lot of public sector, private sector. We had access to thousands of leaders. And we distilled together what made the highest performing leaders of people tick. What were they doing? What was their mindset? What was their process? What skills did they possess? What set them apart? And the interesting thing was, when we were doing all the research, the highest performing leaders were similar and consistent in what they did. They had the same mindset, they had the same process. So we could capture all that and write it up in a book, which we now call The Liberator.
I love that. That is so good. So I would think that, okay, this is super common sense, but it's not. What I've realized is it's never common sense. So you have a manager and you have a leader. What is the difference?
I have a beautiful saying. I don't know where it came from. I didn't make it up. But managers light a fire beneath, leaders light a fire within.
Ooh, I like that.
So managers are concerned with the day-to-day operation of the business. We call it transactional leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuff is really important. But you also then, at the appropriate time, when the internal motivation of your staff kicks in and that their skill is building, their confidence is building, you then have to change your style.
Mm.
And that becomes transformational leadership, where you're tapping into their motivation to do the thing. And it's beautiful.
That's really beautiful. So is being a leader, is that something that's more innate? It's you have intuition for it and it's just, or can it be cultivated and grown?
It can be cultivated and grown. Some people have this naturally,
Mm-hmm.
but other people can learn it. It is a process. And Derek, the psychologist, was a chartered engineer before he became a psychologist. And so what the Liberator has is it's like a beautiful engineered process. Look, do this first, do this next, and then do this, and you will be able to be a transformational leader.
I love that. So what are some of the qualities that somebody needs to know? Because I know you have this whole program and we'll talk about that in just a little bit, but what are some characteristics or qualities that need to be developed?
We have to start, first of all, you have to start with you. So we use a beautiful psychometric tool. The one we use is called Insights Discovery. Sadly, it's not my tool, but I am a practitioner and a distributor for it. But that first helps you to understand who you are. What sort of leader are you? What sort of leader do you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to be known for when you've gone? And the insights model uses 4 colors. We call them color energies, and it doesn't matter which color you sit in. Anybody can be a leader, but you make it consistent, you make it visible so that your staff know where they are.
Mm.
And once you've done that, you need to get with the mindset of the leaders, which is one of high challenge and high support. Now, there's nothing new about high challenge and high support, but leaders are not very good at getting the balance right.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can imagine, if you're in an organization, and you've been in some, Charisse, so you'll know, if there's too much support and not enough challenge,
Right.
what happens there?
Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell you from firsthand experience, for me, I end up doing a lot more of the stuff because
Exactly.
they just expect me that I'm just going to come do it. And then like, wait, I need to learn that word delegation. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And if you have the opposite, which is too much challenge and very low support, what happens there?
Chaos, uncertainty.
Chaos.
Yeah.
Yes. And stress for people, they burn out.
Mm-hmm.
If you have low challenge, low support, it's very unhealthy, because it's not worth getting out of bed in the morning. And lots of organization in times of great change
Mm-hmm.
find themselves in that place. You can't stay there for long.
Mm-hmm.
So this sweet spot of high challenge and high support in powerful and equal combination leads to consistent high achievement and development in your people.
You know, as you're saying this and describing it, I'm actually relating it to being a mom, right? Because
Absolutely.
as a parent, I've had several different children, as we talked about a little bit before. And like the first few, there were some challenges, but I kind of pushed them out of the nest to go start doing some things, quite frankly, because we had to. And now I have this, I don't want to point some of my children out, but there's one child that has had very little challenge and everything's been taken care of. And now that movie Failure to Launch keeps
Yes.
playing in my head as a repeat
Yes.
because it's like they're afraid because they don't have that confidence in themselves because they haven't been pushed. And I'm like, dang,
Exactly.
how did I miss the boat on this one? And so
Yes.
it's like,
Because
okay,
you're busy.
exactly. But it's just little small wins because before it's
Yes.
like, I don't have time to teach. I'll just take care of it. I'll just take care of it. I'll just take care of it. And now this person doesn't really know what to do or how to do it. I forget to
Exactly.
do anything. And so I see this in children, I see this in employees because they're afraid. Like another good example, I'm giving too much dirty laundry, but we moved into this, right, where it's my husband and my house. And
Yes.
so he goes off to work, and it was 5 boxes a day. That was my goal. I got them all put away. Everything was great. Now he's afraid to do anything or to clean up because he doesn't know where anything goes. I'm like, I don't care. Just put it away. Here's this room. Where do you want it to go? I don't have a preference. Where do you want it to go? He's afraid to say something. Really, I don't care. Just do.
That is
And
such a beautiful example.
it's true though, because I mean, you have the laissez-faire type leader, you have the dominant, authoritative type leader, and it's really interesting as you start to learn these things, what happens, the good and the bad, or the
Yes.
ugly, I should
Yes.
say.
Absolutely. Yes.
So,
So one of the principles, we have to set the ground rules both with children and
mhm,
with staff. This is the way we behave in this company
mhm,
or this family, this house, and it keeps everybody safe.
yeah,
We have a lovely analogy for the whole process, which
mhm,
is if you imagine that you've got a team of people, or all of your children, Charisse,
mhm,
you take them up to the top of a tall skyscraper. Do you call them skyscrapers in
mhm,
America? Yeah.
yeah,
Um, it's got a flat roof
mhm,
and it's dark, but you take them out onto the roof in the dark. There are no railings round the edge,
mhm,
so it's flat. They can fall off, and they've all got roller skates on.
yeah.
And
Oh,
you take them to the middle of the roof and you say to them, skate.
wow.
What do they do? Exactly. Yes, they huddle in the middle. They don't want to move. They don't want to fall off.
Yeah. Yep.
So now, if you floodlight the roof with a light that is so bright, which is your vision as a leader, as a parent, this is what we're trying to achieve here. And then you put the boundaries around the edge, which are the railings on the roof. These are the rules we're going to work within. And now please do your job, or please skate.
Yeah.
And now they'll skate and use up the whole area of the roof because they know they're safe. They
Right.
know they can't fall. And for people in organizations, they know you're going to protect them
Hmm.
and you won't let them fall too far. They've got to make mistakes, but
Hmm.
that's okay. It's part of the learning. And then they'll do the most amazing twizzles and twirls that you have never taught them, but just because they feel safe and confident to try.
That is a gorgeous analogy because I'm very, very visual. And so I could totally see them all over, skating on the roof and doing what they need to. That was really cool analogy. So thank you for that.
It's a
And
pleasure.
it's true.
I was going to say they've also done it with studies by taking children into the middle of a field with trees around the edge.
Hmm.
Can you imagine that as well?
Hmm.
If if it is just a huge field with trees around the edge and you say to the children, okay, you can play anywhere,
Hmm.
they'll typically play near you.
Hmm.
Now, if you put a fence in the field, either close to you or anywhere, and if you say to them, you can play within the fence, as long as you keep inside the fence, doesn't
Hmm.
matter where you go. Now, if any child tries to climb over the fence, you have to pull them back.
Hmm.
So this is your employee maybe going off the rails. You pull them back with feedback.
Hmm.
If you don't, then others will follow. And of course, if you let your children go off into the woods, there's danger out there. You don't want that. And you don't want your employees doing all sorts of other things. You need them to be doing the task in hand.
That's true. There's also another study, I actually talk about it in this book, so little plug. But they talk about if you blindfold somebody and you put them in the middle of a field and say, hey, just walk a straight line, they actually walk in circles. And it's, I think, the same type of thing. If they're blinded, they don't know what to expect, they don't know what to do. And so they walk in circles, not intentionally, but there's no direction. They're not sure what to
Yes,
do. So it's the same.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. We could talk about this all the time because I love this.
We could.
And so could you, right? So
Absolutely.
what advice would you give somebody who is starting to hire not just one, but we'll say their first 3, 5, 10 employees? What advice would you give them?
To have a vision. What are you trying to achieve in this company with this team of people, however many people you've got? What is the level of courtesy you expect between team members and with your suppliers, with your customers as well? What do you expect? What are you trying to achieve? What's your goal as an organization or a family? So you make it super clear so that people can decide if they want to be on that journey with you or not. And if they don't, they're welcome to follow their own vision elsewhere. But if they're here, they follow your vision right here, right now, and this is what it is. So you make it clear.
And I think that that's important because you need to know that they're on the same, I call it the same bus as you. And if
Yes,
they're not,
exactly.
I'd rather you get off the bus when we go 5 feet than when we've already gone 100, right?
Exactly,
I don't want
exactly.
to train more people.
Yes, indeed. And there are certain places where it's safer to stop and get off the bus.
Right, right.
So yes, so these are kind of the ground rules, we call them, the rights and responsibilities of the leader and the rights and responsibilities of the team member.
Beautiful. Do you also talk about promoting people? I don't want to talk about the Peter principle where you're promoted to your level of incompetence, but people who want to be able to grow within the company. And so you get them to be super good at this. And then you have all these tasks. But then as you continue to grow, then they can hyper focus on this area and you hire people like backfill, I guess is what I'm saying. Do you teach some of that?
Well, if that's what your people want or that's what you need of them, then yes, absolutely, that's all part of it.
Okay.
Some people want to progress to be leaders, and it's no good just promoting people because they're the best at the task they're doing.
Right.
They have to want to lead and develop the best in others as well.
Oh, that is so true. And that is so key. I want to re-emphasize that they have to want to be able to develop other people because
Yes,
some people, they just like the title because,
they
hey,
do.
I'm the boss.
Exactly.
I get to do this. But if you truly think about it, like, no, your goal should be to be able to develop other people so that they can grow and progress.
Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly. And some people just want to be the specialist in the task they're doing. That's fine. Let
Yep.
somebody else lead the team.
So there's an analogy, which I used to teach sociology, and my poor students, I played with their mind all the time. I think that's why it was their favorite class. And because we did these real life examples. And so this was at a time where liability wasn't as big of a deal. So we would go to a mountain, okay, a hill. It wasn't Utah, our mountains are really tall. So it was this hill, and it was called Ensign Peak. But I tell all my students, and I did this with young women from 12 to 18. I did this with men from 18 to 65 or 70. And I'd say, okay, see that peak up there? Your mission is to go there. I will see you up at the top. And within 5 minutes, no joke, you had 3 distinct groups of people. And this happened every single time. So you'd have the people that were like the gung-hos, like just they're going to be the very first ones to the top. They don't really take time to see anything and they make it to the top. They're good, right? Positive. Oh, let's go. Then you have a second group of people and they're like, oh, look at this pretty flower. Oh, look at this and this. Oh, I love this, and they're talking and they're just walking and they're taking their time, but they're going to get there. And then there's this third group, which are the, do we really have to do this? This is stupid. Why do we have to? It was so interesting to me every single time. And I'd start at the front and then I'd slowly come to the back and then I'd eventually come to the very back. I'm like, come on, guys, you can do it. Let's go. And they're like, oh, and it was very interesting because when they finally all got up to the top, the reaction. And so we would talk about that. And
Mhm.
I think that in every organization, it's the same thing with the same type of people. You have some that do, they want to make it to the top, they want to be the people. And then you have the others that are like, I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm going to punch that clock and I'm going to do
Exactly.
everything. And I'm happy to help anybody on the process. And then you have that third group where you're like, do you fit here or do you not? I remember having a conversation with one person that said, look, there's two people in this room. It was me and her supervisor. I said, there's two people in this room fighting for your job, and you're not one of them. And she just kind of looked at us and she's like, you're right. I don't enjoy this job. We're like, okay, so what are you going to do about it? And so I think that it is so fascinating to see what you can do and how you teach people. So I love hearing about it.
And for the people that really don't want to be there, it's your job to help them move on as
Yeah.
fast as you can.
Let's go.
Yes.
I love success stories. So what are some of the success stories that you have where you've had a leader that you've been able to coach and develop and has made this transformational impact?
There was one charity with about 50 people in the charity, and there were three similar charities in the UK at the time.
Mm.
And this charity was afraid of being taken over by one of the others that shared the same field.
Mm.
And the old crusty male CEO had just retired. And so the female finance director had stepped up into the role while they looked for a new chief exec. And she called me in to help. And I said, well, I think I'm looking at the next chief exec, and if we just do a little bit of training here, you're going to be amazing.
Oh.
And indeed she was. So we looked at what was wrong with the organization. So they were spending thousands and thousands, like £35,000 a year on recruitment because there was such a high staff turnover. There was a lot of sickness and absenteeism. They wanted to be the go-to charity if there was an outbreak of this particular disease and the BBC here needed to talk to a charity about it.
Mm.
They wanted to be the first charity the BBC would phone. So we said, right, where would you like to be? So we got all of the ground, the kind of statistics. What are we trying to fix here? So then I took all of the staff through the Insights tool, which is the psychometric tool, as a language for communication. Look, just try understanding each other better.
Mm-hmm.
Let's create a little bit of rapport and collaboration. And now if we train the leaders to lead better, and we also train the people to be a little bit more self-directing and in control of their own career, their own life, then it really helps. Now, some of the fundraisers would come into the office and say, we don't want to do this. You don't have to, but this is the way the organization is going now.
Mm.
So you need to decide if you want to stay or not.
I love that.
Some did, some didn't, but actually all staff were then on board. Some of them left, but the ones that remained were so on board with the training, they couldn't believe that they were being offered this gift of training. And then it was written up as and they won a national training award.
Wow, that's so cool. See, I love stories where people I hear all the time from entrepreneurs that, oh, I just can't hire any good people. There's no good people out there. And anytime I hear that, I so badly want to say, well, you should probably look at yourself. Um,
Absolutely.
because you're clearly not able to manage and lead and direct and train. And so that's why you're
Yeah,
not finding any good people out there because it really
yeah,
is probably you. There's so many people that want to do a good job. Like when I ran those colleges, it was as if it was my own college. And
yes,
there's a lot of people like that. They took serious ownership of their
yes,
departments, of their classrooms, and went well above and beyond. And
yes.
you just have to find those people, and they're all over the place. Because people, I don't believe people get up in the morning and go, what can I do to get fired today?
They
No.
want to do a good job generally.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. And there was another chap that was sent on our accreditation program for the leadership program. And he only knew on the Friday that he was coming to London on the Monday
Um,
to attend this 3-day program. And he was very, very unhappy. And he just said, I don't want to be here. I
mm,
said, I can understand that. If I was told on Friday I was coming here on Monday, I'd be really cross as well. Because
mhm.
he had a lot of pre-work to do, which he had to do over the weekend. And I said, and if you decide to leave, I will support that and I will let your employers know why.
Mhm.
Because it's just not fair on you to be here right now.
Mhm.
But if you decide to stay, you might learn some stuff that will help you as a leader. So he decided to stay, and he had read the Liberating Leadership book as it was then 3 times because he was traveling from London to Bournemouth here in the UK and back each day for the
Wow.
3 days. And he'd read the book 3 times on the journeys. And he was part of a group that were franchisers. So they owned a lot of franchise chains in the south of England. And if ever they bought a new franchise from somebody else, they would immediately fire all the staff and bring in some new ones.
Mm.
And after this chap had done the training, and he was then responsible for a new franchise they just bought, he said to the owners, I'd like to keep the staff.
Wow.
I don't want us to fire them. Let me see what I can do. And he turned the staff around and it was amazing.
Oh, see, I love stories like that. I remember going to one of my last schools that I managed, and in 2 years, we did not have a single person turnover. And we went from number 8 in the college group out of 8 to number 1. And it was very interesting because I would hear from corporate constantly about how this person should go and this person, they don't have any value and blah, blah, blah. And one person who their whole dream was to be able to teach in a classroom. And because she looked a little different than other people and didn't fit that mold that the corporate wanted, they wouldn't let her. And so my first thing when I went in there, I asked, what are your goals? And she goes, I would love to be a teacher. And I would say within 9 months, we got her to that position and the students loved her. And so
Brilliant.
it was just, I loved, that was probably my most favorite school that I was ever at. And
Yeah,
for many reasons, but it was just fun to see the
yes,
transformation and the self-esteem and confidence grow in those employees. It was fun.
absolutely. Yes. And you have had to learn the hard way because you haven't had all the training.
Right.
So you've learned on the job. So yes, of course, you would have made mistakes in the beginning
Yeah.
because you can't know it all because
Mhm.
we don't ever get taught it.
No, there was one, I don't even know if it's in my bookshelf. I'm looking, it might be on my other bookshelf. No, the Leadership Challenge. It's up there. That is probably my favorite book in my MBA program. That, oh my gosh, I learned so much about leadership and I just soaked that class in. It was just amazing. So it was fun. Yep.
Brilliant.
Well, I mean, what type of activities and things are you doing now?
We are running a virtual accreditation. Um, the program I mentioned where we train people to be a bit more self-directing,
Hmm.
we call that the Pioneer Program.
Okay.
And that's all about developing yourself. And most leaders haven't done enough work on themselves. So I would always suggest do the work on yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how to give feedback properly, learn how to negotiate properly, build your emotional intelligence, your personal power, your sense of self. And then once you do that, you then learn how to lead and motivate others. So we've got a 6-session virtual pioneer program running from June until, can't remember, the 6 sessions, whenever it runs to. Mm-hmm. And then we have the Liberator program running through September, October.
I love that.
So this will be online. Anybody is welcome to join if they want to learn anything about this.
Oh, that's amazing. So how do they find you then? How do they register?
Very, very soon on our website, the dates will be live. So we've got an events page on the alliestewartandco.com website.
Okay.
And they'll be able to register there, and that'll be live probably in the next day or two.
Thank you for that. So alliestewartandco.com.
That's it. Yeah.
Great.
And if you want me on LinkedIn or Instagram or anywhere, it's all alliestewartandco.com.
Nice.
Allie Stewart and Co.
That's good. Great. Well, one last question for you. I want you to imagine yourself sitting on a park bench, and this very young first-time mother comes and sits on the park bench next to you, and you start talking. And your whole life, from your babies till your grandbabies and all of the time in between, what is one piece of advice you would give that brand new mother? And it doesn't have to be just as a new mom, but just one piece of advice as a mother that you would want her to know.
I would say to her, sleep more. Sleep is so important. It's more important than your health or your diet, because if you're not sleeping properly, those other 2 things are not going to work properly.
I love that.
And as a young working mother, I thought sleep was the one thing I could skimp on. I really thought I can work all the hours into the night once the children are in bed. I can get up early in the morning and crack on. I would sleep more because it's done untold damage. It does untold damage on the body if you're not sleeping properly.
Sleep is a very important thing. I never thought of it as much, but definitely sleep is an important thing because, well, there's so much just research about sleep. We can do a podcast about it later, but that's good advice. Very good advice. Well, Allie, I really appreciate you being on the show. Leadership is such an important thing because we develop other people and we help them. And the trickle-down effect that you have, because you're affecting their families, and they're such an impact that if you can become a good leader, you can truly impact the world. And so I appreciate you doing that. Thank you.
Pleasure. Well, I leave you with a quote from Richard Branson.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, train your people so well they can leave. Treat them so well they don't want to.
Right. I love that. That's a very good quote. Yep. And it's very true. So Unbreakable Moms, take some golden nuggets out of this, that leadership really is not about you. It's about you helping other people live their potential and achieve their potential. And Allie has obviously some great resources and has had a lot of success. And so I hope that as you're going throughout your day, you think about, how can I impact the world? And it starts with you. So go out and make it a great day. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.